Hi, Mr. McLeod here. We missed you yesterday and I hope you're doing well. I don't want you to get behind, so I've recorded a short video just to touch on the highlights of our class from yesterday. Now don't worry, we're going to cover these concepts again throughout the year. The things we talked about yesterday were just introduction to a couple of concepts related to both income and insurance. We started with the Bible study as we do each week, and I wanted to share these verses with you that we studied in class. The first is from the book of Jeremiah, where God is asking Jeremiah to send a message to the kings of the countries that are around Israel, countries that don't even believe in God. This is what he said. "This is what the Lord of heaven's armies, the God of Israel, says. With my great strength and powerful arm, I made the earth and all its people and every animal. I can give these things of mine to anyone I choose. Now I will give your countries to King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, who is my servant. I have put everything, even the wild animals, under his control." The second was a passage from Matthew 25, where Jesus is talking to the people, and he says, "Again, the kingdom of heaven can be illustrated by the story of a man going on a long trip. He called together his servants and entrusted his money to them while he was gone. He gave 5 bags of silver to one, 2 bags of silver to another, and 1 bag of silver to the last, dividing it in proportion to their abilities. He then left on his trip." The principles from these two passages are, number one, that God owns it all, and he controls who he gives it to, whether it's controlling kings and kingdoms and nations, or just the resources that are given to people. Now, God often gives to people according to their ability, and therefore we should not be envious or jealous of those who have more than we do, nor should we look down on those who have less. In Module 2, we talked about income, and so this is from the box at the top of our chart, and specifically we talked about how to read a paycheck. Since most people don't even get paper checks anymore when they have an income, or you may not have had a job yet, so you may not have seen this at all of the things that are on a paycheck can be very confusing because they don't seem to make sense. They've got code words you may not even be familiar with. And so we spent some time just walking through a paycheck and what it says. First of all, of course, is the paycheck date. In this case, it's for December 22nd through December 28th. In other words, it's probably the last paycheck of the year. It shows the items that are on this specific paycheck, what's the current total, the current deductions, and the net pay, or the amount that went into the bank. It also shows the year-to-date amount, so somebody can see how much they've earned this year, how much was deducted totally, and how much went into the bank. For Brandon Smith, this example person, his gross wages, that is the total that he actually earned, was $18 an hour times 40 hours, so he earned $720. His deductions included federal tax of $92.42. Federal tax deduction is not actually payment of taxes. It's not a bill or a charge. What's happening is the company is sending this money directly to the government on your behalf so that you don't have to pay a big tax bill when your taxes are due. We do not actually pay taxes until April 15th for the year prior. So in 2021, the taxes aren't actually due until April 15th, 2022. But Brandon here has $4,800 in taxes that have been collected so far. Most people don't have $5,000 in cash sitting around waiting to pay a tax bill. And so companies send this money to the government in advance, and then Brandon will file a tax form. And if the company sent too much, he'll get some of it back. If they sent too little, he'll have to pay, but just the amount that wasn't paid already. And so that's what withholding is. We talked about this before, is taking a little by little so that people don't have to pay a big tax bill all at once. Now, what's not shown is state tax, because Brandon here lives in Tennessee, which, like Florida, has no income tax for the state, so there is none. 43 states do have an income tax, though, so the company would also collect for the state and send it to the state revenue authority. The second kind of deduction is a FICA, or Federal Insurance Compensation Act, which is a Social Security or retirement savings, and then Medicare, which is a retirement health care. And this is something people pay with every paycheck in their working career so that when they retire, the government can provide a small income or medical insurance for them. Now, it's not designed to cover all the expenses or income a person needs after they stop working, but it's better than nothing, which is what people had up until the 1930s. If they didn't put money away, they literally had nothing to live off of. And so Social Security is designed to provide a subsistence income after retirement, but not everything that we need to live on. And that's why what's not shown on this particular paycheck is a voluntary retirement investment, such as a 401k program. A 401k program is something where I might say I want to invest, say, 5% or 10% of my income, and the company takes that money on my behalf and sends it to an investor to invest it on my behalf. So it's all of my money. It's just that the company is sending it right out of my paycheck instead of me having to send it directly. But it's always under my control, under like the federal tax or Social Security, which stays with the government. In Module 3 yesterday, we talked about the introduction to insurance, and this is from the Living Expenses box number 4. Now, insurance is a big deal. It's a big industry in our country, and insurance companies would like to do more and more of your business. Last week, for example, 4 of the top 10 advertisers on television were insurance companies, Geico and Progressive, as well as Liberty Mutual and Allstate. Geico spent over $10 million on TV ads alone last week. That's like $520 million a year if they spend that every week. Progressive spent about $9 million, so just as much. Now, just about everybody already has insurance. And so what these companies are really trying to do is get you to switch from the insurance company you already have to using them. Now, there are several kinds of insurance, and we're going to talk about these more detail as we get to these specific topics. So this is just highlight items. We have home insurance to protect our home. Car insurance to protect the vehicle we drive as well as other people's vehicles in case we get in an accident. Medical insurance is not shown on this list, but it's usually provided by an employer. Life insurance or lost income insurance, and then specific property goods. For example, if you went to Best Buy and bought something, they might say, hey, do you want an extended warranty on that? Really what that is a product insurance. Again, we'll talk about each of these later. Now, why do we insure things? Well, we want to protect ourselves against losses. And really what this means is we want to protect ourselves against losses we cannot afford to replace. So for example, if I spend $300,000 on a house and it's destroyed, like some people in New Orleans have experienced just this week, most people don't have $300,000 sitting around to refix or repair or replace their house. And so the insurance company, I pay a certain amount of insurance every year. And if a catastrophic event occurs, then they will pay me those expenses, okay? But other things, for example, if I buy a $20 chair from Best Buy or Walmart, for example, and they say, do you want an extended warranty on that? I'm thinking, why would I want to pay $5 to protect a $20 chair? I have $20, so I don't really need that insurance. So generally, insurance is to cover expenses that are bigger than we can absorb when the incident occurs. Another type of thing we want to do is prevent against theft. Another reason we insure is against catastrophic events, acts of God. And again, that's what a hurricane is: earthquake, tornado, lightning strike, things like that. And then finally, again, is income loss. Life insurance, for example, or disability insurance are designed to cover the income that's lost from disability or death prior to retirement. Now, if I'm investing in the Social Security program and I'm putting money away in a 401k or some other retirement vessel, or just putting money away in savings, the idea is that when I stop working, I will have enough money to live on. But if I should die before that time, who's going to provide for my wife and kids, etc.? And so I just want to protect against income loss. That's really what a life insurance does, is to cover that lost income between now, when I have the insurance policy, and when I have enough money saved that I can retire on that. So again, we'll talk about those later. All right, we finished the class by talking about assignments for our next class, which is September 13th. First of all, continue to work on the current memory verse, our longest one of the year, 1 Chronicles 29, 11, and 12. You can see that in the notes. Also, starting tomorrow, for all of September, I want you to record any income and expenses on the transaction worksheet. Just write down everything you spend. Big or small, no matter anything you spend money on, write it down. If you get any income, either from an allowance or a job or a gift from a relative, put that down as well. And then we'll be doing that all through the month so that we can begin to build a budget. Finally, while we normally do Bible study in the class, this one I wanted to talk about next week was just a little bit too long for us to read in class. It's the story of Job. So Job chapter 1, before the bad things happened and when the bad things happened, and then Job chapter 42, after all of the things happened and things were restored for Job. And it's just too many verses to cover in the beginning of class. So what I want you to do is read through these verses ahead of time and then answer the questions on page 2, so that when we start class on the 13th, we can go right into the Bible study portion, or right into the discussion portion, that is. All right, again, we missed you. I hope you have a good week and a good holiday next Monday, and we look forward to seeing you on the 13th.